Hi everyone, it's Stephanie here and welcome to day 3 of summer school. In today's video lesson, we are going to be looking at symmetry on our card designs. Symmetry is when we have a card design that if you were to fold it in half right down the center, from side to side, you would have a card that perfectly mirror images the other side. So you want to keep all of the elements on each side of the card exactly the same. So I decided to create this by using a solid image in the center and having it completely the same on both sides of the card. I wanted to create this look with just die cutting. I don't want to use any stamping. So what I've done is I've die cut the skinny strips vertical dies. So these are a bunch of little strips that all die cut together. And I'm going to layer these first onto the background of my card. I also have the Off Die-namics, which is a really cool kind of spaceship design. And I've die cut it from a bunch of colors. There is more colors that aren't showing on screen, but you'll see all the different colors when I start to assemble the card. So the first thing I want to do is I want to create the little stripe area that we're going to add to the background. So these stripes are cut from Grout Gray cardstock, and what I did is I positioned the first one onto the card exactly where I wanted it, and I made sure to get it straight by using my T-square ruler. And once I knew that that was perfectly straight and adhered to the card, I then took the negative piece of this die and I'm going to adhere it temporarily over top of my card base. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use liquid glue and add it to each of these little strips here. And then I'm going to insert them into the opening that they were die cut from. Doing it this way just allows me to perfectly space these exactly as they were when they were die cut, and it won't take me a long time to get everything lined up and positioned straight since I'm putting it right into the opening of that die cut piece, just like a puzzle. Once I have them all adhered, I'm going to press down to make sure they're firmly adhered to the panel, and then I'll very carefully lift off that negative piece, and it's just going to leave me all of those strips. It's a really great way to add a little bit of detail to the background very quickly and easily with simple die cutting. So now that I have those strips on there, we can go ahead now and assemble our rocket ship. So the first thing I've done is I've taken the main body of the rocket ship, which I've die cut from steel gray, and I've backed it with a piece of gravel gray to show through that whole opening. I also have all of the pieces die cut from tropical teal and jelly bean green. I wanted to keep the rocket ship kind of really dark in color and have all very similar colors. I love these dark colors of the grays with that little bit of teal and that dark green. I just think it's just a really cool color palette, and I loved how this ended up looking when I was finished adding all of the pieces. So I just kind of went back and forth now between the tropical teal and the jelly bean green, and I just decided where to add all of the different colors onto the rocket ship. For the little dots here, I used the tropical teal for the two end ones and the middle one, and then I added the gray color into the two second holes. I'm making sure as I'm adhering everything that I'm keeping it symmetrical, so I want to keep the colors the same, I want to keep the design the same, so I'm making sure to adhere everything in the exact same spot on both sides of the rocket ship. For the little tip area there, I added a jelly bean green cardstock piece, and now I'm going to use the tropical teal to put the little bottom piece on as well as the two side wing pieces. And then once I have those pieces on, the only thing left that goes with this die is the little bit of fire that you can add to the bottom of the rocket ship to make it look like it's taking off. Now with the little fire pieces, I decided not to use them. You'll see here in just a minute, I'm going to show you one up close. These are actually not symmetrical because they are not perfectly shaped on either side the exact same. The flames are a little bit scattered, which makes sense since you don't want them to be perfect. But for my card design, I really wanted to keep this truly a symmetrical design, so I decided not to use those on the card. I'm going to add the spaceship here, or the rocket ship, directly over top of the lines, and I'm going to stamp a sentiment at the bottom of this as well. As I was assembling the card, I did decide that I didn't like all that white space at the bottom. Since we weren't adding the fire, it made the spaceship a little bit shorter in size. So I decided to use the triangle piece that we adhere to the top part, and I'm going to use the dark gray color, and I'm going to adhere that to the card as well. I'm kind of going for the look of it looking like the fire, or just a modern geometric look. I just wanted to fill up that white space a bit, and I liked how that looked positioned underneath. Now before we add the spaceship onto the card, because we did add foam adhesive to it, I decided to go ahead and get the sentiment stamped first. I made sure to use a straight line sentiment with just one line of text, and I positioned it so that it's perfectly centered on that panel so that it looks exactly symmetrical in shape on both sides. The letters obviously aren't, but this is the best I was able to do with a sentiment stamp. Now for the rocket ship, once I had all of the backing removed from the adhesive pieces, I'm going to position this directly in the center in between all of the lines that I've added to the background of the card. And then I'm going to use some liquid glue to add on that little small triangle piece. I decided to keep this one flat on the panel so that just the rocket ship is the only thing dimensional on the card. And then once I have that adhered, I can go ahead and add this to a card base. I'm going to add it to a tropical teal card base, which is one of the colors that we featured in the design. And then I'm going to take a white gel pen and we're going to add some details to this card. Because we use such dark colors of cardstock, using the white pen is really vibrant on these dark colors, and it really stands out and adds a lot of detail to this finished design. I love using this white pen. It takes just a few minutes to add a little bit of detail and some little lines and highlights, and it really brings the card to life. For this design here, I'm using a Sharpie marker pen. It has a really nice opaque white liquid in it, so it shows up really nicely, but you can use any white gel pen you have on hand. And now you can see when I put something down the center, we have a perfectly symmetrical design. If we were to fold this in half from side to side, it would completely line up on both sides. It's just a really fun way to create a design that has really great symmetry, and we kept it really clean and simple by using just 2 different dies and a simple stamp sentiment. I hope today's video gave you some ideas on ways that you can use symmetry in your card designs. Please make sure to do today's homework to be able to be eligible for the prizes for today. You can find all of the details in the video description below, as well as the link to the blog post where you can share your card for today's homework. As always, I appreciate you being here, and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks so much for joining us, and make sure to stay tuned tomorrow for another fun day of summer school.